It is astounding what power being kind, mannered, polite, and considerate has in transforming your life. Isn't
Mm,
that true? Someone named
very.
Bryant McGill said that. And there's all kinds of scriptures that back that up. And we'll talk about that later. Our topic today is going to be about thoughtfulness and consideration, something that we need to really think about all the time, but especially holidays. Here we are in the holidays again. This is Looking Up. We are a podcast for Christian women. Thank you for joining us and for listening and for being our friends and for pretending to sit at a big long table with your favorite. You have hot tea today, don't you?
Mhm.
And I have my cold drink here. We just get together every week and talk about things that are important to Christian women, things that are fun, things that are spiritual, scriptural, biblical. And we just always want to honor God in everything that we do. And so that's our purpose. And it's the week after Thanksgiving, full on into Christmas now. How was your weekend and how are things? And you've got cold stuff going on in your head right now, don't you?
I do. I do. I woke up after the whole Thanksgiving brouhaha with a cold on Sunday morning, and now it has settled into my head. So I sound like but I'm prepared. I have hot tea here. I have my Kleenex box.
Hmm.
I'm good to go.
You're going to blow your nose on the podcast?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably.
We,
But we're all close now, right?
yeah, just don't show us the Kleenex.
Oh, gross. That's boorish.
As that's coming out of my mouth, I'm thinking I shouldn't have said that. Real and unedited, that's what we are.
That's all right. That's
Well,
all
did y'all
right.
have a good Thanksgiving?
We did. We had all the kids and their kids over, and Neil's family got to come. It was kind of up in the air for a while, so we're grateful they got to be here. We did some lots of eating, some
Hmm.
singing. Neil and I took the grands out into we call it the back 40. We don't have that much property, but we still call it the back 40 to hunt for pine cones so we could make little pine cone Christmas trees with them. And the best part of it was Rich, when he would find one, he'd hold it up in the air, and say, "Who made this?" And I'd say, "God did," or I'd say, "I don't know, who made that?" And he'd say, "God did." So
Being taught, that's sweet.
he really is. It was very cute.
So
Yeah.
how do you make the Christmas trees?
I just had Elmer's glue and beads and charms and things like that out for them to choose from, little letters with their initials on them, and so they could. Hot glue probably would have worked a little better because it would have held them in place better, but I always get
Fingers.
nervous, yeah, with the hot glue gun. So we had Elmer's glue and beads went everywhere, but it was fun.
Well, Erin brought something like that. She brought pine cones and little pom-pom balls and took the kids outside and they made those. And I didn't see the process. I think there was some paint involved and I saw some green fingers later, but it was a cute idea.
Yeah, I think when my grandma did it with us, she did beads and glitter. And glitter probably would have been a little easier, because it sticks so well to the glue, and then all the tips of the pine cone look really pretty, but it's quite messy.
Yeah.
But some of my beads and charms were a little heavy, and so it was a challenge.
I bet it was fun though. You made some memories.
We definitely made some memories. That's
Mhm.
right. So
Yeah.
how was your weekend?
It's good. It was good. We had all of our kids were here. Jordan and his family and Jake and his family all stayed here because they come from further distances. And Micah and Courtney drove. But then my brother and his wife and their daughter, Lauren, my niece, and her family came. So I don't remember exactly how many people we had, but somebody had the genius idea of putting the kids' table outside. So, my dining room, we extended the table to the bay window and then we put the kids' table right on the outside of the window. So they were all, with their faces up against the glass and sticking their tongues out. And I mean, they were having a blast outside, but it was much quieter inside. We had just had two of the babies inside with us, and the rest of them were out there having a ball. Um,
So
we
you
had,
had mild weather.
yeah, we did. It was perfect weather because they got to play outside, and we turned on the fire pit thing, the gas fire pit, and sat out there, and it was perfect weather. Couldn't have asked for better weather. We played a game called Poetry for Neanderthals. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we love that game.
Okay, well, I've never played it before, and it was my part in it was very brief because I was getting ready to take mom back. So, the you blow up this what looks like a club, and so you can only use one syllable words as you're trying. It's like taboo, right? I mean, isn't that how you would kind of describe it? But you can only use one
Yeah.
syllable words to get your team to guess whatever it is on your card. And if they say any word that's more than one syllable, then you get to beat them on the head with this. It's like a rubber balloon, not even rubber, it's
It's
plastic.
an inflatable
That. Yeah,
inflatable club. Yeah.
you can't hurt anybody with it. Well, I
Hmm.
say that, I'm sure they could, but so of course all the kids had a blast with that little inflatable club and they ended up, I think it was probably my brother that did it, touched it on some barbed wire and it's gone now. But here's a question for you because this came up while we were playing it. Is the word FIRE one syllable or two? Lauren, if you're listening, pay attention to this. I want to see what Kathy has to say.
I think I don't know.
She said fire, two syllables. When you say it, fire, because
Fair.
she's learning, she's teaching Kason how to
Mhm.
learn syllables. But
I
I
mean,
mean,
I can see it both ways. I think I'd have to give it to whichever way they said. Because you can
I
go
think it
fire, fire, fire. Oh,
are.
no, that's a hard
It
one.
depends on what part of the country you're from, right?
I think it's two syllables. Because
In Texas, it is.
tire, you don't say tire. I don't change the tire. Well, I
Well,
guess people do.
fire, fire,
Fire. Mm,
fire. That would
yeah,
be FIYER, fire. But fire,
fire.
fire. I think it's one syllable,
Okay.
unless you're in Texas, and then it's two. Anyway, that was a debate for part of Thanksgiving, but no, no, we didn't come to blows over it. It was just one of those things that we laughed about. And
Neil is Neil is hilarious in that game because he does the one syllable words, but he never does it in his normal voice. He does it in a caveman voice. So, go eat food, fast food. So he talks like that. And so we have had so many conversations about what if you could only preach that way? You know, you can only use one syllable words when you preach. You can only extend the invitation with one syllable words. You sin, come now. Come up here now. No more bad.
great. I've never played it before this weekend, and so that was a lot of fun. And now I have to look for another inflatable club because thanks to
Um,
Doug beating all the children with it, it's gone now. But and there was nobody threw up, and that usually happens around Thanksgiving time. So
that's
everybody was
awesome.
healthy and it was fun. The kids had a blast together. So and then, one of the fun things about Thanksgiving too is that it comes around again. Well, another holiday is just a month later, so we get to see everybody again pretty soon.
I just dropped my glasses.
Bend over and pick
Keep
them up.
talking.
How did you manage to drop your glasses?
I was cleaning them. I took them off to clean them with my shirt and then I dropped them.
I I didn't hear anything. Well,
We
so what
had
else?
second Thanksgiving on Saturday at my sister's house.
Yeah,
And Bud made, I'm not kidding, the best turkey we've ever had in our life. And he had
smoked or
practiced smoking turkeys earlier in the week. I don't know what I've got on my glasses. And whatever he did a smoked chipotle turkey with a couple of different kinds of wood for the smoke. And it was the juiciest, most flavorful turkey. I mean, we just bought a couple of smoked turkeys, and after having his, I didn't even want ours. When we came back, and we had some of ours left over in the fridge, and I was like, "Bleh." His was so good. But at that one, it was Bud and Christy and their son David, and my mom and Ray and Neil and me. So it was, a lot quieter.
yeah, no
But
kids.
yeah, a lot quieter. And I was just kind of all I had to do was bring rolls. So I just showed up and was really relaxed and really feeling it. And then Neil said, I need to get back and study. And I was like, what?
Your holiday was cut short.
Yeah, yeah. But so we had two Thanksgivings, first Thanksgiving and second Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, sounds like a lot of eating. And
Hmm.
we just finished off. I mean, there's probably a little bit more stuffing in the refrigerator right now. The Erin always makes that and it's really good, but she makes a ton, like one of those, not a 13 by 9, but what is it, 10 by 15 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
But Doug made a brisket and he's a master barbecue or griller or whatever you want to call it, smoker.
Yes, he is. I've had his brisket. It's incredible.
It was really good. And we had that smoked turkey and we had Pioneer Woman's mashed potatoes that Jake and Liz made. And we had
Mhm.
yams and stuffing and green bean casserole and coconut pie. And yeah, I still have some of that. Kind of hoarding that in the refrigerator right now.
We have no desserts left. Actually, we
Did you
don't
get
have
rid of
anything
them?
left. We don't have anything left anymore. So,
Did you get rid of desserts purposely?
well, I didn't really mean to. Um, Emily brought one. She brought a mandarin cake, so she took that back with her. I made a couple of pecan pies and a pumpkin pie. And Carl took home a whole pecan pie. And the other one got eaten during, no, we had two slices left. So Neil and I wiped that out the next day, and that's all we had.
Yeah. Well, John said on Saturday night, so we got to throw away everything. Got to get rid of everything. He has more of a thing with sugar than I do, and I do like sugar. I mean, I like sweets, but he is more drawn to them than I am. I just found out a really bad thing about there's a place called pretzels.com, and I need to stay away from that because that's my weakness. But I mean, it's just that time of year
Yeah, snacky.
eating.
I'm gonna be thinking about that recipe you shared with everybody that your mom made with the marshmallows and chocolate and what all is in there? Maybe nuts or something,
Yeah, it's
pecans or
roasted pecans
something.
and marshmallows and Hershey bar.
And you roll it up or whatever. But I made that last year, and I'm telling you, that stuff is addictive.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking about it. And after I ate it last year, I remember thinking to myself, I can never make this again. Nope, never. And I'm already thinking, I think I have all the ingredients for that.
Yeah. And if you toast the nuts before you put them in
You
there, that
definitely have to
sets
toast
it
the
off.
nuts. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is good. Speaking of my mom, um, so I went one of the days I was with her last week. She brought up the beanbag chair that I referenced on podcast, I guess
Mhm.
last week, a week before. So she said, "That's your Christmas present." And can you see it back there?
Yeah, I see it.
I just unwrapped it like an hour ago, and it's been expanding as we speak because you know how they compress it, and it
Mhm.
came in a box like this big, and I'm thinking, surely that's not it, and it was, and so yeah, that's
Pretty
definitely not
comfortable.
Carl sized,
No.
but I'm looking forward to sitting in front of the fireplace
Oh,
in that
yeah.
thing and putting my feet up. That's
Oh,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah,
Gotta
so
be cozy.
yes, I can't wait.
Well, I have a couple of things to show you.
Okay.
Oh, first of all, can you see how many pieces are in this puzzle?
Oh
Mm,
my, that looks tough. 3,000. I've never seen one that big.
3,000. So Tara Pierce sent me this puzzle. The biggest puzzle we've ever done has 1,000 pieces.
That's gonna take you a while.
It's going to take a while, and not only that, it's not going to fit on my puzzle table.
What's the measurement of it completed?
Um, Big. It's 48 by 32 inches.
That's
4 feet.
4 feet, three by
Yes.
four.
We're
Wow.
going to have to do it on the dining room table. Yeah.
Let me
Isn't
see it
that
again.
crazy? Isn't that crazy? It's Ravensburger, which I love that brand, but
Uh-huh.
3,000, 3,000 pieces.
You
And
need
then
to
the
wait
other
for
thing
a
I want to
blizzard.
share, what'd you say?
You need to wait for a blizzard, and then that's what you do for
Yeah,
the 5 days you get
exactly.
locked in.
The other thing I want to share is, can you see this or should I
Oh,
take it
it's
out of the?
Ollie. Yeah.
My sister painted this
Aw.
and it gave it to me. It's a magnet. This is a magnet, so it's on my fridge. Here, let me take it out of the wrapper. That'd be better. Look, isn't that
I
cute?
knew immediately who it was. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks just
She's
like him.
so
I mean, look
talented.
at the expression in the eyes. I feel like I'm looking at Ollie. I don't know how she does that, but she's so
She,
talented.
does she have any desire to do that, like to do it for other people?
I am trying to encourage her to do that. And that's the difference between Christy and me, is she has already had several people ask her to paint certain things for them, and she will. But she doesn't sell anything. So I keep trying to encourage her. I think you could definitely sell these paintings.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned that I was dehydrating oranges the last time we talked, and they turned out great. Look at these things.
Wow.
Aren't they pretty?
Yes. And they
And
smell
it
good.
made a ton. So I've got them in jars like this. I've got two big old jars like this. I've got a great big old bag of them. They turned out really good, so I'm going to string them on a garland for our tree.
Are they, I guess they're not very heavy because all of the liquid in them has been dehydrated.
Right, they're really light.
Well, that's fun. I don't have a dehydrator. Thanks.
Yeah.
Now you've given me something else I want.
They turned out great. I'm so happy.
Good. You gonna
Yeah.
do cranberries too?
Am I going to do what?
Like string with cranberries and popcorn or just the
Oh,
orange
well,
slice?
I thought about that. I was thinking about bay leaves.
Hmm.
Thought about doing bay leaves with them and keeping it kind of rustic since we picked out a tree from our own backyard.
Yeah, that's gonna smell good. Well, I have some things. Is that all you're gonna show? I have some show and tell too.
Yes, that's my only
Okay.
show and tell.
So last night I hosted the Dripping Springs Ladies Christmas party, and we did the three favorite things like we did last year. And it was, I
Mhm.
mean, I heard about it from you, and it was fun to see what everybody brought. I just told them to bring, three of your favorite things that cost less than $10 each. And just to see what everybody brought. There was some mascara that was really neat that comes off in tubes. Have you heard of that?
Mhm.
I had never heard of it before, and now I've got to go find it. There was a brush. Somebody brought a brush that is one of those detangling. She said it is like the best one she's ever had. There was M&Ms. People brought M&Ms. One of our sweet women who lost her son last year, she brought these plaques like from Hobby Lobby, and it said, "Pray, trust, and wait." And so three people got that, but then she had written something about how she had seen God, his providential hand and the way things had happened over the last year.
Aw.
That was so sweet. I did those small crock pots. I found a Black Friday deal, those Drew Barrymore. They're really pretty, mini. I mean, they're like this big. And
Mhm.
so I had that. I'm trying to remember what else there was. I ended up with a really nice meat thermometer,
Mm.
some Bombas socks, and then this. My friend Carol Nelson makes these quilted, she calls them a mug rug.
Oh, cute.
She brought me one anyway, and then but I didn't know. She'd handed it to me before and I set it aside because I didn't have time to open it then. And then I ended up she did that for her gift. So you put your mug on it, and then you also have room for like a cookie to set it on there. So I thought these
Cute.
were fun, a quilted little mug
Very
rug.
cute. Mhm.
And then several other people, when you host things, sometimes people bring you sweet things. And
Mhm.
my friend Carolyn Whitehead brought me this beautiful Christmas cactus,
So
which
cheerful.
I have already told John I place it in his care because I'm not as, um, shall we say, talented with growing things. And then my friend Melissa Lovelace, last year, she brought these as her favorite things. Her husband did some 3D printing ornaments, and I got it, and then it got stolen from me. So she brought me. It's lit up. Can you see?
Yeah.
That's
Ah, the
the
Grinch. How
Grinch. Yeah,
cute.
Merry Grinchmas,
That's
and you
cute.
can turn it off and on. So I get to hang that on
Mhm.
the tree. And then John's cousin, my friend Sherry, she left this. Isn't this beautiful?
It's very beautiful.
And it smells amazing.
It's a
It,
simmer pot.
yes. So you can put this on your stovetop, I'm assuming, because she gave me the instructions for it. But it's got cinnamon, fresh rosemary, cranberries, and then this, I'm assuming this is the star anise
Mm-hmm.
and an orange. And she said you just slice up the orange and simmer a few slices with this on the stove. And it's just the simmer pot's pretty and everything in it is pretty and it's so Christmassy. So I just got inundated with sweet and thoughtful gifts last night. So it was
Perfect segue into our topic since we're talking about all these thoughtful. Rhonda Garland gave me some. Hers wasn't in a pot, but it was kind of in a plastic bag that's shaped like a cone. Have you seen those?
yes, uh-huh.
And so it was all filled with cranberries and clementine and cinnamon sticks, star anise, and cloves. And that's what I had simmering on Thanksgiving Day. I put them in the pot and it smelled amazing. And then Lori DeBree gave me some hot pepper jelly.
Mm.
And I'm telling you, between the Thursday and Friday crowd, we wiped it all out. I mean, we spread it on cream cheese and had Triscuits and Ritz crackers out, and everybody went crazy about it. And so it's gone.
Yeah, that stuff is addictive too.
So good. Yeah. And pretty.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, for the party last night, we had sliders, just those ham and cheese sliders, and a salsa bar. So, do y'all have El Patio chips up there? Have you noticed? I need to send you a link, or maybe not, because if you have them, you won't want anything else.
Uh-oh.
They're they're the kind like you get in a Tex-Mex restaurant, but you can get them in a bag. But anyway,
Mhm.
we had just different kinds of salsas and queso and guacamole and Shauna Underwood, she's one of the members here, makes this green sauce. It's like Chewy's jalapeno ranch, but it's different. It's like it's got lots of lime flavor in it, and
Yum.
oh, it's so good. And then she left it here, so I have a big container, but I don't
Yeah.
have any more chips. So I'm trying to
Uh,
think. Maybe carrots would be good on it, but not as good as chips.
I mean, they're both crunchy. That's about all you can say.
Yeah, they're not exactly comparable. I also wanted to mention, as I whined and griped about the Office Depot experience last week, they printed me four new books, it's a half year,
Hmm.
and gave me a refund. So I was all whiny about nothing. I think they must have contacted UPS and UPS gave them a refund and then they passed that on to me since it was the fault of UPS, basically. Anyway,
Hmm.
so
Very nice of them.
yes, it was, and I felt bad for whining about it. And I thought it was dumb to even bring it up, but it was just on my mind last week. And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
brought it
Yeah.
up. Oh, anyway,
Well, I was going to share, Carl, when he was here, set up a game cam in the back. We have a deer stand back there, and he set up a game cam. And so Neil was checking it last night. He gets all the pictures on his phone. And within 5 days, it had taken 400 pictures.
wow.
And they were of the most incredible. I mean, we're flipping through these things last night, and typically we see a lot of deer, but mostly doe. I mean, these were bucks right and left with the great big racks. I guess they
Mhm.
only hang out in the back. And a whole group of raccoons. I saw four in one huddle back there. Twice was a red fox. And we just thought, and we've had the property bush hogged, so it's not near as wooded as it
Mhm.
used to be. But we're looking through all these things going, good grief, we had no idea. I mean, it's like the animal kingdom back there.
A whole new world in your backyard.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah,
it
there's
mostly
lots
at
going
night?
on at night. Of
Yeah. Well,
course,
that's
it
fun.
gets dark early now, so we have a long night.
Well, those are fun to watch. It's fun to see all the different kinds of animals that you have no idea are living
Mhm.
basically in your backyard. And are you going to feed them?
Well, the when they came out to go hunting, I think they dropped some corn.
Mm.
But it's regular hunting season was over, so it was just bow. So Carl came over on Thanksgiving Day with his bow, but he didn't get anything.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
Is
The
that
only other
it?
thing I have is that I was enlightened this week, and I thought I would pass it along to you and everybody else who might not be as enlightened as I am.
Lightness.
Are you ready?
I
I
think so.
learned this week that middle-aged women should be called queenagers.
I like it.
Yes. So that's what we are from now
I don't
on.
know. The only thing I don't think I like about it is that probably somebody would say it with a queenager, like you're being a queen or you're trying to be a queen.
Excuse me.
Who enlightened you with that?
I just saw it.
Okay.
Not a real person.
Wasn't somebody.
No, no.
All right. Are we ready to start topic then?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We are going
Oh,
to. Oh,
I was going to tell you also, I forgot to grab it out. I made some elderberry syrup yesterday. We've had this conversation about rebuilding an immune system when you're around grandkids now. And so I feel like I keep coming down with something after hanging out with them.
mhm.
I shouldn't lay the blame at their feet, but I am. And so I ordered some organic elderberries and yesterday made a big old batch of elderberry syrup, and I'm going to start taking it every day, and hopefully that'll help. It's supposed to build your immune system,
Oh,
and
okay.
if you do get the cold or flu, shorten the duration, but it's also anti-inflammatory. It's good for your heart, it's good for your gut health. It's got a lot of other benefits to it anyway, so
What's in it?
um the kind I made is elderberries, and it's got ginger, cinnamon, and cloves in it also. And then after it simmers and you strain it and you cool it, then you add honey.
So it's tasty then.
Hmm.
So elderberry it's a berry.
Yeah, it grows on a bush. And Rita McGuire has a great big old healthy one that I think is almost the size of her house. And she has tried to give me clippings of that thing 3 or 4 times, and I've killed it every single time. I don't know what it is, but I do not have the touch to grow an elderberry bush. So
Or
I
maybe
killed
it's
mine.
the kind of soil that she has that's better than what you have or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But
Or just go get them off of her house size bush.
she's given me some. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad to hear it. All right. Well, we're going to talk about being thoughtful and considerate today. And what does that mean? And what does the Bible have to say about it? And why should we be that way? And in what ways may we not be that way? Maybe unintentionally, but being, of course, like we always talk about, being more intentionally thoughtful and considerate. So, what does just just curious, what is your sort of generic definition of being thoughtful and considerate? Put you on the spot here.
I would just say being aware of other people and the needs or things that would make them happy or take care of them or make them smile or, just thinking outside of yourself and being more mindful of other people.
Yeah, I like that you use the word aware. That's not even a word that I thought about when I was preparing for this, but yes, being more aware of how other people think and how they feel. There's times that you have said things about um, being thinking about something else that somebody might want or need that it just never occurred to me to think about those things. So I feel like there's a wide range of maybe how you've been taught, or maybe
Mm.
it's things that we are personally. I don't want to use the word offended because I think we overuse that word, but things that we are hurt by, or maybe that affect us, that nobody, somebody else doesn't have an issue with that. And so that changes maybe how we feel towards others, or how we're aware of their personal um, things that we need to be more thoughtful and considerate about. So I just looked up the definitions, just the dictionary definitions of these words, and thoughtful means to be meditative, or it's to be characterized by careful, reasoned thinking. And the way that they described it, it's that we consider others, we give attention and care to someone else's feelings before our own. It's a form of love that seeks, this is a biblical definition, a form of love that seeks to uplift and do good whenever it's possible. And someone made a comment that it's especially appreciated, thoughtfulness is especially appreciated when it's not expected. So it's like last night when all these people came in with gifts, and I hesitate to even associate gift giving with thoughtfulness, because that we don't have to give someone a gift in order to be thoughtful. But it's so sweet to when you're not expecting anything and someone walks in and gives you something that shows that they've been thinking about you.
Excuse me.
You're good. Do you have cough drops?
No.
Just keep swigging your tea.
Okay.
Um, just just I think what it is about those things is that you appreciate when knowing that people are thinking about you. And it just makes you feel good when you know people are thinking about you. And someone also made this comment that thoughtfulness must precede our behavior wherever we are, whether it's at the church building or in the shoe store. And I think that probably steps on some toes because, we,
Precede behavior. Is
yeah,
that what you said?
yeah, proceed. In other words, go before you. We have to be
Hmm.
thoughtful in wherever we are, whether it's around our Christian friends who expect us to be thoughtful and considerate, but also when you go into a store and someone maybe not be as nice to you as you want them to be, or you don't get the answer you expect, are you just as thoughtful and considerate in those situations as you are to a friend who's been thoughtful to you? It's easy to be thoughtful and considerate when someone's nice to you or when someone's done something for you, but when you're not being treated the way you think you should be treated, are you still thoughtful and considerate? So considerate, the definition of that is to be thoughtful of the rights and feelings of others. So, I mean, basically, to me, they're almost synonymous. So, here's another question for you. Have you, I'm sure you have, and you don't have to give any examples, but have you ever been the victim of someone else's thoughtlessness? And how did it make you feel?
Yes. I can hardly talk right now. Yeah, I think more surprised than anything when that happens, and especially when it just seems, how you mentioned thoughtfulness is more appreciated when it's unexpected. I think thoughtlessness is more surprising when it's unexpected, when it just seems to come out of nowhere, or sometimes it seems like somebody went out of their way to say or do something thoughtless and you can't figure out why.
Yeah. And our reaction to that can be
Hmm.
one of being thoughtful or just being reactive. And it makes me think of that example of when life squeezes you, what spills out of you is what you've put in. And that will step on my toes because, when we think about it and pray about it ahead of time, being able to handle situations, especially, this time of year is stressful. We've talked about that ad nauseum over the last several weeks, but when we feel more pressure and stress and when we feel time closing in on us, or I just think it's harder for us to be proactive in what spills out when we feel like we've been provoked by someone else's thoughtlessness. But that also begs the question, have I ever been thoughtless or inconsiderate? And no, I have
It's not.
never been thoughtless
No
or
way.
inconsiderate. But one of those ways that, and maybe you can think of others, but in what ways are we thoughtless? And one of them that popped up in my mind that we've talked about before is not being thoughtful of others' time. And,
Mhm.
when you expect someone to just drop everything that they're doing in order to listen to you, it's pretty thoughtless, just assuming that they have time to deal with whatever it is that you need them to deal with. Of course, there's times that we need to drop everything that we're doing to go and help somebody with something. But I just think there's lots of different ways that we end up being thoughtless, and whether it's excluding someone, and we don't really mean to. This is one of those things that I know has been a problem for a lot of people on both sides. When you see a picture of a group of people on social media somewhere that you thought were your friends, but they didn't invite you. That's one
Mhm.
of those kind of hard to swallow things that I think it's on both sides. Maybe it's thoughtless of someone to post that, knowing that others were excluded from that, but at the same time, are we being thoughtful if we are being offended by that, or if we're not just thinking to ourselves, well, maybe they tried to call me and I didn't answer the phone, or maybe they were planning my surprise birthday party while they were all together, and that's why I wasn't invited. Or, we don't always have to be invited to everything. So I think it goes both ways that we can assume that everyone else needs to be thoughtful of us when we are not being very thoughtful of them.
Yeah, and sometimes we bring that on ourselves because they may have asked us to join them for something else a few times before, and we always had a reason not to,
Hmm.
and too busy or don't want to do it or too tired or whatever. And so they stop asking. I mean, sometimes we can get upset about something, but we've really brought it upon ourselves.
Yeah. And also, this may not affect or may not be applicable to everyone. I'm sure it's not. But if we are upset about something like that, that might be the very reason that people don't want to be around us. That's just kind of a
Yee.
side note because maybe
Yeah.
we're a little
Ooh,
bit
that's
touchy.
true. Yeah.
People just don't want to be around us. So that's just one example of feeling like people are being thought less when really we should be thoughtful about for just don't be so touchy about things. So what does the Bible have to say about this topic? Of course, there's lots and lots of things, but the ones that came to mind, Philippians 2, of course, says that we should do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind, regard others as more important than ourselves. And it goes on to say that we shouldn't merely look out for our own interests, but for the interests of others, and then to have the mind of Christ. And what did he do? He set heaven aside and humbled himself and came to earth in the form of a servant. So are we emptying ourselves? Are we humbling ourselves like he did? That's the ultimate example of thoughtfulness and consideration, what he did for us. And we're not going to be asked to do something as drastic as that, but we are called to have that kind of mind that is willing to do what he did. Then the example of Jesus when he says in Matthew 11:29 to come to him because he is gentle and lowly, as some translations say, or gentle and humble in heart, and we can learn from him. He says, "Learn from me." So to be lowly in heart like he is to be thoughtful and considerate. In Colossians 3, we always end up in Colossians 3 because it's important to us, but giving characteristics of a Christian says to be forbearing and forgiving and loving, to be ruled by peace, and to have the word dwelling in us and whatever we do to do it to his glory and his name and giving thanks. So all of those things I think of as helping us to become more and more thoughtful and more considerate of others. And then two more passages. First Peter 3:7 talks about husbands living with their wives in an understanding way. But then he goes on and says that everyone should be harmonious and sympathetic and kind-hearted, humble in spirit, not returning evil for evil, but returning blessings even when someone is evil to us. And he goes on to say, if you would love life and see good days, keep your tongue from evil and seek peace and pursue it. So all of those things I think of as being as contributing to someone who has a thoughtful and a considerate spirit and way about them. And then the last one I'll bring up is 1 Corinthians 13. Of course, the definition or the what we always go to when we're talking about love. But what love is not jealous. Love doesn't brag. It's not arrogant. It's not rude. And, when you think of the opposite of thoughtful and considerate, the word that comes to my mind is rude. And some of the translations actually use that word is not rude or does not act unbecomingly. And then love does not seek its own. It's not irritable or resentful. And all of those step on my toes because I get that way a lot of times. But when you look at that passage overall, you see that it's just love isn't, it's not all about me. It's about others and how I treat others and um, how I lift others up instead of myself. So,
Yeah, I feel like we could drop the mic and walk away because right out of the gate, Carla, you were talking about the example that we have in Jesus, and I started thinking back to, you asked, have you received thoughtlessness from somebody else? And little incidents popped into my head. Little scenarios that I thought, wow, I felt like this was thoughtless, and I felt like this rubbed me the wrong way, and I felt like this was inappropriate. All these little specific examples came to mind that I could have shared. And then you started talking about the example of Jesus and what he went through. And let's just hold those side by side, shall we? The the things that I thought were thoughtless or rubbed me the wrong way or that push my buttons, if you will, and where I thought somebody was not being very thoughtful at all, pale in comparison to what he went through. And yet, look how he calls us to respond as he did, and it just kind of stopped me in my tracks mentally, just right there. And I even wanted to talk about some things that I thought were thoughtless, and then I just couldn't, with you starting out with the example of Jesus and what he calls us to do. So thanks.
Well, when I think about the things that I consider thoughtless, I mean, it's pretty selfish of me, honestly, to say someone is being thoughtless of me. I mean, it's true, people are and have been, but and I'll probably bring this up on a different point later, but if I am looking at life through the lens of not being served all the time, being the kind of person that God wants me to be and being the server rather than the servee, and I don't know if that's a real word, but I think you know what I mean. Then I'm
Hmm.
not going to be so offended by things that I think are thoughtless. And it's just getting out of my own head and quitting feeling so overly sensitive. And I can be. I mean, even as I'm preparing this, I'm thinking, what are you doing, Carla? Why do you think that's thoughtless? And I think about we teach our kids to be thoughtful. What do you tell them when they have company over? What should they do? Ask them if they would like something to drink. Let them go before you through the line for supper, or make sure that they're comfortable. And when we see our kids going first, or just, going and doing what they want when they've got company, when they really should be thinking about what their company would prefer, that's a job of a parent to teach their child to be thoughtful, but they don't always remember everything. But even, there's something, I remember this, you bringing it up, that's probably several years ago, as it's probably in the hospitality episode. And you're talking about how you're conscious of making sure that every person that's there feels special or feels seen and known and heard, and that you get to spend time with them. And when you were talking about it, I was thinking, I just never really thought about that. Not that I didn't think about people feeling comfortable in my home, but individually wanting to sit down and spend time with each one. And I thought that's really a thoughtful thing to do. But I don't think to do that. Does that make me thoughtless? I think it just kind of makes us
Hmm.
different.
Hmm.
So there's probably a lot of areas that we just think differently. And so I guess my point is I hope that no one thinks that I'm being thoughtless when I don't do things exactly the way they do them. It's just that you've been raised differently, or you have different sensitivities, or I don't know. That just is something that entered my mind.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I like how you're starting out with our reaction to other people and the things that we think we're perceiving as thoughtless because we may not be coming at it from the mindset that they are, and there are actually cases where somebody thinks they're being helpful or they're trying to do something nice and you're receiving it differently. And I've heard, I can't remember if we've shared on here before, and I don't want to give away too many details, but an example of where somebody tried to do something nice for somebody, but the way they did it was received not in a good way. Like they thought, showing up unannounced was thoughtless.
Yeah.
Um, this person thinks that they're being thoughtful by dropping off a meal. This person thinks that person's being thoughtless because they didn't let them know ahead of time they were coming. So, something that was meant to be for good was taken in a completely different way because you've got two different ways of looking at things. So I like how you're starting out with how we respond because not everybody thinks the same way we do, or approaches things the same way we do, or looks at circumstances the same way. And we can be, like you say, sensitive or assign motives to them that were never meant to be there in the first place. or say that was thoughtless when actually it could be the very opposite was true in some cases.
Yeah. And it's our responsibility to look for the best and see the best. And
Yeah.
just thinking about First Corinthians 13, we're not keeping account of wrongs suffered and maybe not even seeing them as wrongs, like you're saying. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think just there's so much to take into account and not having that proverbial chip on our shoulder all the time as far as how someone's treating me. That makes me step back. When someone reacts that way and I intended it to be something nice, I don't guess that's happened to me very much as far as it being taken the wrong way. But I shy away from people that are, to me, overly sensitive. But I think for today, it's thinking about ourselves and how we can be thoughtful for others rather than focusing on ourselves and how people have been thoughtless of us.
Hmm.
So don't know how far we've got, how long we have left, trying to keep this at an hour, but there are 6 characteristics of considerate and thoughtful people. And I read an article that has some of these in here. So it's not obviously not all original with me. But the first one, kind of uh, tagging on to what we spoke of earlier, is that they are inclusive. Thoughtful and considerate people are inclusive. They make other people feel included. And sometimes sometimes we just want to have our own little party and have our best friends and have the ones that we love the most and that we're the most comfortable with. And of course, we have time for that. We'll make time for that because we that's just what we do. We do things that we enjoy doing. But I think my mom used to kind of drill this into me. There's just really no reason why for a lot of things we can't just invite everybody and make it open for everybody because you know, it's not about us. It's not about what makes us happy. But then again, when we do something like that and when we include other people, even the ones that we might be a little hesitant to, it's going to end up having the effect that we will be happy and satisfied and find joy in it because we're doing things the way God wants us to do them and not the way we want to do them.
Hmm.
So, one of the quotes I read said Christians find great happiness in making people feel loved and seen and heard. And don't you find that so true? It's kind of one of those unexpected blessings that when you do, I just think this all the time. When we do things God's way, it just always turns out better. When we do things the way we want to do them, we might find some temporary happiness or joy, but it's not the same as the kind of joy that God can give us. So just go ahead and invite everybody. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to kill you. You might have to talk to somebody that it requires a little bit more patience on your part or effort to think of things to talk about, but just think about how they feel when you're thoughtful toward them and how you've done what Christ did in humbling yourself. And I'm a little hesitant to even say that because that sounds kind of like, well, I'm humbling myself to invite these people over that I really don't want to invite over. I don't mean it like that at all. I just mean just do the right thing. And again, there's situations where you're not going to invite the whole world into your house, but I think that there's plenty of opportunities where you can invite everybody. Or just put a something out on social media saying I'm going to be at um wherever, Panera tonight at 7. Does anybody want to join? And then see who shows up and see what new relationships you might end up making and how you might be able to bless someone's life. And sometimes someone will say, you have no idea how much I needed this tonight. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Every now and then you see people do that with coffee shops. I'm going to be here at 10 o'clock in the morning with my Bible. If anybody wants to come hang out, I love it. And I always wonder, it's kind of like a potluck meal. You're not sure what everybody's going to bring, who's going to show up.
yeah. Let God bless you and bless them with opportunity to listen or to offer maybe not counsel, but just to give a listening ear and to make someone feel special and honored. I saw when I was looking for different quotes about this topic today, I came across one that said, "Stop being considerate in situations where you aren't considered." And it stopped. I was like, wait a minute, I gotta read that again. Stop being considerate in situations where you aren't considered. And that's
Mm,
so worldly.
probably.
It's so unbiblical. And I know people are going to say, well, you've got to have boundaries. There's some situations where you can't, you have to consider protecting your own family or whatever. But I think 9 times out of 10, that's just not true. It's putting that chip back on your shoulder and it's just waiting for someone to, well, they didn't consider me at all, so I'm not going to consider them. And that's not the golden rule. That's just
Mhm.
so anti-Christian. And I think that's just something that the world would say. Someone in the world would spread that.
Well, it's pithy, but
Yeah.
it's backwards, and we see that all the time. Don't give people your time when they won't give you the time of day, or if you really want to be happy, put yourself first, seek your own joy and, all that kind of stuff. It's so backwards. It's so backwards, and try it. I mean, most people do. We do too. We fall into that trap. And it never brings fulfillment or peace or joy or any of those things that you think it will. That's why one of the verses that you read, if you would see good days,
Mhm.
do it the way Jesus says, seek the good of others, seek peace, do all these things, then you really will have the good days and the joy and the peace and all the things that you think you're missing.
And I feel like the people that would say stop being considerate in situations where you're not being considered, are the ones that are always offended and always
Yeah.
bothered by the things that people say and do. And so,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. And I know that's maybe an overgeneralization, but that's the kind of person that comes to mind that might say something like that. Okay, so the first one is they are inclusive. The second one is that they treat everyone with respect, remembering that every person in this whole wide world is made in the image of God, and that you will never look upon the face of another person that doesn't matter to God. So treat everyone with respect. I think about this so often when we're in a huge crowd of people somewhere in the world or here, just wherever, when you're in a big crowd and you're bumping shoulders and you're trying to get through and you're seeing these people that you've never seen before and probably will never see again. And yet I think to myself, God knows that person every bit as much as he knows me. And that person matters to him. He knows his name. He knows what he's struggling with and what he cares about, just like he does with me. So treat other people with respect, knowing that they're important to God as well and they should be important to us. Take the time to get to know people. Take the time to show respect to people. I think we're so used to being disrespected. And again, that sounds a little bit, like I've got that chip on my shoulder, but I just think in the way that we are with social media and keyboard warriors and all these people that are not afraid to say what they're feeling at any given moment, a Christian will stand out when they take the time to show respect to someone, a clerk maybe that is not having a good day and they are not treating you very nicely. How do you respond to them?
I was thinking about traffic.
Yeah.
Talk about perceived thoughtlessness on the road, and how do we respond in those situations? And you're talking about every individual is somebody that God knows and loves. When you're on the road, it's like, that's not a person, that's a vehicle,
Yeah, that's true.
and how do you respond when they cut you off? Or, are you going to let somebody out when they've been waiting there? Or are you just going to zoom through the light? Um, that's an opportunity to be thoughtful and respectful. And I think in, my mind, I'm going, but that'll make me late, or that'll make me, when truly it won't.
Mhm.
Let's say it did make me 2 minutes later, and it won't, but let's say that it did, so what? So what? But when, for some reason, when you said treat everybody with respect, and you mentioned the crowds and the individuals, the
Mhm.
traffic scenario was the first one that popped into my head.
Cool. That's a personal that's stepping on my toes because
Oh, mine
I don't
too.
know what it is about when you've been waiting in line and then someone zooms up to because everybody needs to turn left, and then they want you to let them in. And
Hmm.
I'm probably gonna run into the person in front of me rather than let that person in because I think I'm waiting in line, you can wait in line too. And I'm not very thoughtful in that way. So I probably need to adjust my attitude about that. I may still be a little bit miffed that they don't wait their own turn, but I did think about this, when sometimes we come across a person, we get to know them, maybe we come across them incidentally somewhere, and then you start talking and you find out you have mutual friends, and then you become better friends and you confess something to them, or you explain something that you're struggling with and they help you with it. And maybe we might say to them, God brought you into my life at the right time. God knew that I needed you. And, for however we want to say that, providentially, that God brings people into our lives to bless us. And I was thinking about this though. What if God brings difficult people into our lives to bless us as well, to help refine us, or to help make us more patient, or to teach us a lesson that we need to learn that is a hard lesson? I don't,
Hmm.
we're not as quick to say, God brought you into my life and he knew that I needed you, when it's not a situation that we feel like is a blessing to us. But I kind of think that there might be more of the other kinds of people that God allows our paths to cross for whatever reason, that we learn a lesson from that's not an easy lesson. So what if we looked at those difficult people, or people that we consider difficult? Maybe they're not, maybe we're the ones that's difficult. That maybe they've been in our life to help us learn something that's hard.
Yeah, but maybe we shouldn't tell him.
Maybe not.
God
Maybe
knew I needed to work on my patience, and he brought.
not. That would be a little bit of wisdom and discernment to not say something like that. You can think that, but you can't say it out loud.
That's right.
Okay, so uh, considerate, thoughtful people are inclusive. They treat everyone with respect. The third one is they give necessary criticism privately, not in public. And this is another one of those things that needs to have wisdom and discernment, because you know what? You don't need to correct everyone. You might not need to say anything. They may not be doing it or saying anything wrong, and you feel like you need to correct them. You might have an opinion that needs to remain your opinion privately. So I will give that caveat and say you don't always need to correct someone.
Yeah, you
But
said necessary criticism.
true. Yeah. So considerate people give necessary criticism in private. And that is going to, I think, probably be pretty rare. If you find that you're correcting people every day, then I think that you're probably the one that needs a little correcting and not the person that you are correcting. But biblically, you know these. Matthew 18, you go to him and him alone. Follow God's plan for helping someone that needs some correction. Galatians 6, restore someone in a spirit of gentleness. So uh, again, the keyboard warriors, the ones that attack on social media, the ones that inbox us things that they take issue with. And I know the majority of people sincerely want to help. I say that. I don't know that. I think sometimes people just enjoy being in a position of authority, but that's not my judgment to make. I can be considerate and thoughtful of them, but be gentle in the way that we handle things that need correction. And maybe, how about we pray about it before we decide that we need to correct someone? When you're a mom, yes, you need to correct your children. Husbands and wives can offer suggestions. What do we call it? Constructive criticism, very carefully and kindly and considerately and thoughtfully. But so I hesitated to even say that one, but I think it merits a little bit of discussion, that if we're going to criticize or correct someone, a thoughtful person will do it privately and not publicly. And you hear people say, if it's a public sin, it needs to be corrected publicly. But I think we need to do a little bit more making sure that we're doing it the right way and God's way and just be very, very careful about that. So
I think on the heels of that, a thoughtful person keeps their opinion to themselves 90% of the time.
yeah.
And you've mentioned the keyboard warriors a couple of times, and you were talking about you mentioned some relationships, husbands and wives, parents and children. Those are some questions that you can ask before that we should ask before we reach out and share an opinion, especially if it's a differing opinion. Number one, do I have a relationship with this person?
Mm,
Because if the first time they're hearing from you is you take an issue with something, what do you hope to accomplish with that? And number two, is it necessary? Does it really matter? You might have a different opinion or think differently along some lines, but that doesn't mean that you have to share it. And I know that, you've already mentioned we're all going to receive things like that. We're all going to receive messages and texts and people's opinions and thoughts and controversies and all that kind of stuff, and do need to handle it in the right way, giving people the benefit of the doubt, not being sensitive and stuff. But the other side of that is let's make sure we're not the ones doing that. Like when we see something that we question, or I don't think we always need to feel the need to hop on and shoot a message or post a comment or, you know, give people the benefit of the doubt. And 90% of the time, they don't care about your opinion anyway.
mm.
I
Yeah,
just I just made up that statistic.
yeah, I think it's a valid statistic. We could probably, put a poll out there and find out. So, okay, criticism, keep your opinions carefully to yourself and come at it with a if you need to be thoughtfully considerate and humble when you have to correct someone. Okay. So again, inclusive, respectful, handling things privately, and then the fourth one is they seek to love and forgive always. I think it was from the company called Rooted and Grounded, and I love their stuff. I think I brought it. That was maybe one of my favorite things, Christmas episode. If it wasn't, it was on my list. And they have a big canvas or a poster, and it has 70 times 7 marks on it. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 490 tick marks on it to show
Mark.
you. And it's a visual of how many times to forgive. And of course, we know that that's figurative. If someone needed 490,000 times to be forgiven, we're to
Mm,
have that spirit of forgiveness. And it was just such a great visual for me.
that's
Um,
good.
yeah, so it always surprises me when we talk about forgiveness that there are a lot of people that will say you can't forgive until someone has asked for forgiveness. And I understand when it comes to sin that God will not forgive sin that's not repented of. So set that aside. But I'm talking about when someone maybe they don't even know that they have been what you considered thoughtless or inconsiderate of you and you're mad about it. And I'm always surprised by people that don't want to have that spirit of forgiveness, or it seems to me like they don't want to have that spirit of forgiveness. And I just feel like a Christian has to have that attitude of always being ready and willing and wanting and seeking to be forgiving. So can't we show the world a better way of being forgiving, having that attitude that I really, really want to forgive you and I really value who you are and love you. And no matter what you've done, you don't even have to ask my forgiveness. I didn't think a thing of it. Those kinds of people. I'm always drawn to those kinds of people. So
Mhm.
what do you think?
Yeah, Kelly Nix is really good about saying, I just assume that she gives people the benefit of the doubt. If somebody says something, she says, and I kind of question it, I just assume that they didn't mean that,
Mm,
and I hope that they do the same for me. She just kind of has that outlook and mentality of, and, you're happier for it when you give people the benefit of the doubt and offer it. It's like for that forgiveness ahead of time. I've mentioned on here before, Tom Vaught, several years ago, giving a devotional, said, we should all have the attitude that says, I can't wait to forgive my brother.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's that whole intentional, this is the attitude I'm going in with. I'm just going to make the assumption that they didn't mean that, or, not to take that personally, or, of
I
course,
love
they
that.
love me.
Well, I think that our own sensitivities show
Hmm.
in our lack of desire to forgive. That we're only showing our own um just a flaw. It really, to me, is a flaw. And it's anti-biblical to not be forgiving. How many passages could we read that talks about being forgiving? Colossians 3 would be one of them. But
Yeah.
not returning evil for evil. And that quote again, stop being considerate in situations where you aren't considered, is just, is exactly what we're talking about. They're not seeking to love and forgive always.
Mhm.
So a considerate, thoughtful person seeks to love and forgive always. Just want to forgive. Just want to be that way, and you'll be a thoughtful person. The fifth one is that they are humble. Do we know our own shortcomings? Think about what David said in Psalm 51:3. I know my transgressions and my sin is ever before me. And even when we know we've been forgiven of a sin, we've talked about this before. It's so hard to get past knowing what you've done and what you've been guilty of. And so I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing if we're not beating ourselves up over it, if we're just remembering that we have this weakness.
Mhm.
And in order to not go down that road again, remember that if I have a tendency to gossip around a certain person, maybe maybe we need to either not be around that person, or we need to pray before we're with them, or we need to be with other people around them so that we're less tempted to speak private things. So just being aware of things like that. And I always think about Tyler King's lesson from 2017. And I don't know if you were there or not that day in chapel when he talked about wearing forgiveness colored glasses.
Mhm.
And just that song, La Vie en Rose, and how when you're in love, you see the world through these rose colored glasses. Everyone's in love, everyone's lovely. Well, it should be that way, knowing that we're forgiven. When we have been forgiven by God, when we are a forgiven person, then we see the world through forgiveness colored glasses. And when we remember God's mercy in our own lives, it makes us more humble. And so a thoughtful and considerate person is humble, which makes them more thoughtful and more considerate. And it's just one of those great cycles of that a wonderful person has of exhibiting those qualities.
Mhm. It seems like in these points, I keep going back to Galatians and the list of the fruit of the Spirit, contrasted with the works of the flesh.
Mm,
And whether you fall into the thoughtful or thoughtless camp kind of rests on those two contrasts. Are you giving into the works of the flesh, or are you exhibiting the fruit of the Spirit? And how many times on this podcast do we say it's all a matter of intention and awareness and determination? The whole Colossians 3 1 and 2. What are we setting our minds on, and what are we intending to do? And the beauty of it all, as we always say, is when we do things God's way, that truly is the higher life.
yeah.
A life of looking up, a looking up life, if you will. And as hard as it is when it's warring against our fleshly side, my pride's in the way. So I'm not seeking the humble route. My feelings are hurt, or I'm overly sensitive, or whatever of all these things that we've talked about, and we choose to give into the flesh and act out in thoughtlessness, or taking things personally, or whatever it might be. How do we feel when we do that? Just miserable, just miserable, and giving in to the works of the flesh and all those pride, selfish, sensitive things that we struggle with. We're not happy, and nobody around us is happy. But take that fruit of the Spirit of love and peace and, patience and joy and forgiveness and all these things that you're talking about. And how do we feel? As hard and as difficult as it seems in the moment, what are we left with when we make that choice and we exhibit the fruit of the Spirit instead? And it's such a huge difference. It's such a huge contrast, not only in our own life, but in the life of all the people that God's around us.
Yeah. Yeah. And why do we have such a hard time learning that lesson? Why do we always have to struggle going back to, we see how blessed we are when we do those, when we do exhibit those fruits of the fruit of the Spirit, but yet we keep going back to being sinful people who war with the works of the flesh. But I think
Yeah,
the more
Neil is
we do
always
it,
having to remind me when we're in an argument that I have a hard time admitting when I'm wrong. Like, it's almost like you can just see him looking at me like, can you not just say, I'm sorry, I was wrong?
mhm,
And did I say when we argue, I meant if we were to ever argue.
yeah, if that ever
But
happens.
on the other side of it, I can look back and say, that was so petty. What's my problem? Why can't I just. But in the midst of it, it's like,
It's the flesh.
it is. It is. And it is a war,
Mhm.
and it just seems so hard because I have to be right.
Yeah.
And am I happy? Is there peace in the home? No. No, I'm miserable.
Yep.
And so is Neil, for that matter.
Mhm. You're going to regret saying that.
I know.
All right. Okay. So recap, they're inclusive, thoughtful people, treat everyone with respect. They give criticism privately. They seek to love and forgive. They are humble. And the last one is that they do not seek to draw attention to themselves, remembering that all glory belongs to God.
Eh. You could have left that one off.
Yeah, sorry about that. I mean, Matthew 16, we're to deny self, take up the cross and follow him, not get people to follow us. And it's hard because you and I with the things that we are, the ministries that we're involved in, you have to do a little bit of that self-promotion, which we both hate. But you it's easier to do when you realize that you're doing it for the glory of God. It's just hard to make sure that we are always that's always at the root of why we do what we do is to glorify God and not ourselves. Romans 12:15, we are to rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. So it's about them, when they're the ones that are rejoicing. We're not jumping in and saying, "Oh, but I had the same thing happen to me and, my son was awarded this," and we're just not quick to overshadow someone else's joy. And then when they're sorrowing about something, we're wanting to cry with them, just sit and cry with them, not tell them, well, what I had was worse, and or my aunt died of that, or whatever it is that we might be tempted to say. So not drawing attention to ourselves. It's pointing others to God, glorifying him, being vessels that or letting God use us is to me a better way of saying that. Just making sure that our hands are doing his work and not lifting ourselves up, lifting him up and not ourselves. So we don't seek to draw attention to ourselves is the last one.
I ran across this quote that I was going to share because I thought it was so cute and I think it fits and under this one. But it says, you know what's underrated? Letting people be. Let them mispronounce a word. Let them talk too much about a show they love. Let them get excited about something you don't get. You don't have to get it. Just be kind. Everyone's got something that lights them up. Let them shine, even if it's not your thing.
I love that.
Isn't that good?
I love that. Let them, not so much the other one, but just, yeah, don't
Mm-hmm.
steal someone's joy. Don't steal their thunder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Read it again. I want to hear it again. If
Okay.
you can, if your throat lets you.
You know what's underrated? Letting people be. Let them mispronounce a word. Let them talk too much about a show they love or get excited about something you don't get. You don't have to get it. Just be kind. Everyone's got something that lights them up. Let them shine, even if it's not your thing.
And don't you love being around people like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. We have to highlight that next week in the group.
Okay.
Okay, so conclude this thing. Thoughtfulness and consideration is not being wrapped up in ourselves. It's thinking first of others. And incidentally, why is that so much easier to do with other people besides our own family?
Yeah, that's a different episode.
Yeah, it is. But it's so, I mean, it's easier for me.
Hmm.
I was having lunch in there right now. It's easier for me to be kind and considerate and thoughtful of other people than to him. Not all the time, but it's
Hmm.
probably more that it's easier to be, I don't know, careless
Hmm.
with him because I know he's going to love me anyway. But why
Hmm.
is it so much easier to be thoughtful of other people?
Well, we spend less time with them.
That's probably it. I'm sure that's it. Okay. Thoughtfulness and consideration involves thinking and planning ahead and being intentional. We always talk about being intentional. So to me, that's when you're going to be with people, pray about it. Say, help me to have the right attitude, help me to say the right things and lift others up and to be interested in someone else besides myself, being intentional, thinking about it ahead of time, and then praying for wisdom and patience and the ability to die to ourselves. So let's be thoughtful and
Excellent.
considerate.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
Excellent.
You have
Yeah,
anything else?
usually we're like, you first.
Yeah. Go ahead. Be thoughtful of me. I'm ready.
You go
I'm ready.
first.
I'm ready. Okay. Do you happen to have anything good for me?
I do. I do. So at second Thanksgiving, when we were at Christy's house, she had purchased a couple of new games, and one of them was called Priorities. Have you heard of that game?
Mm,
It was so much fun. And it's really easy. It's just a bunch of different types of words. And everybody plays at one time. So that's fun. And it's a group of people. And so whoever's turn it is, whose ever turn it is, you turn over 5 cards. And they all have different random words. They could be people, things, events. So it could be chocolate, Kim Kardashian, rainy weather, technology, um, cheapness. Okay. And then, so who's ever, say it's my turn
mm,
and we flipped over these 5, then everybody else has to discuss which to rank them in order of which
okay.
ones I love down to which ones I loathe. So it was so interesting just hearing the conversation. No, I think this one would go first because she blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but remember that time she blah, blah. So the conversation is interesting, but plus words can be taken differently.
Yeah.
So if it's my turn, I've already numbered them in order on a little whiteboard. And so, like the word cheapness, that was one of the words that came up, and it was for my sister. Well, when I was debating the word, I was thinking of it as things that are cheaply made or cheap behavior. Well, Christy was thinking, I love a good bargain. So, some words can be taken differently. And
Are you allowed to say, like, could she say, this
No,
is how
she's
I
not
see the word?
supposed to. So if it's your turn, you're not supposed to say anything. We did break that rule one time because um one of the words was like men. And so we had to say this has nothing to do with like, and it was a man whose turn it was, this has nothing to do with like attraction or anything weird like that, so but technically if you're the person, you're not supposed to say anything. Just let everybody hash it out. And then, once they've got them all in order and everybody agrees, you compare it to your list. And the ones they got right, you keep on one side of the table. And the ones they got wrong, you put on the other side of the table. And you're playing against the game. The back of all the cards have different letters on them. So the ones you get right, you're trying to be able to spell the word priorities before the game can spell the word priorities,
Hmm.
the cards that you've gotten wrong. So
Game within a
it's
game.
yeah, so it's really fun and engaging. And when it was Neil's turn and I was, sharing my opinion about what he thought about this or that, I think I got all of them wrong. So I felt terrible. When it was my turn, one of the words was rainy day. And my sister and my nephew and my mom, they were all, no, you should put that one higher because she loves a good book and a cup of hot tea, and like rainy weather is perfect for that. And Neil is saying, Normally, yes, but since we've moved to Kentucky, not so much because it's always raining and she misses the sunshine. And so, anyway, so he's arguing against everybody else about where to place things. And anyway, he got them all right.
Mm.
And I told him afterwards, I feel so seen, because that's true. I used to love rainy days, but not so much anymore. So anyway, it was just so much fun. As soon as we got home, I ordered our own set of the game to play when the kids come over because I know they'll love that. But it was easy, it's engaging, it's good for a crowd, it's good for getting to know people, it's not expensive. So that's my something good for you, the game
Sounds like
priority.
a conversation starter too.
Yes.
I like
Yeah.
it. Hmm.
Yeah.
And
What
one
do
of
you
the one of the things that we do in a marriage seminar is John will give everybody five cards, and you list out five needs that you have, one on each card, and then you give them to your spouse, and that your spouse is supposed to put them in order of, your greatest need to your least great need, and,
hmm
and it opens up a door to talk about, and they change over time too. So that's interesting.
hmm
Okay, well, mine, I've already mentioned it, but it's this simmer pot. And what a great gift idea for, we talked about it during the gift episode. Maybe you have a number of people that you want to give something that's not too expensive, but I mean, that's this has got to be not very expensive, but I love it. I love it. I can't wait to I've been trying to decide when I'm going to cut the orange and actually use it before the orange goes bad, I guess. But um, just it involves rosemary, cranberries, star anise. You say I said anise. Anise sounds better. Probably is. I'm sure it's right. Cinnamon sticks. And I'm guessing you can get these off of Amazon, but I don't know where she got it. But I thought, what a great gift. And it looks festive, smells
hmm
amazing. So a simmer pot is a great idea for you, something good for you.
Yeah, you can also put them in a mason jar, like a quart-size mason jar. That would be, it wouldn't have the cute little simmer pot, but it would still be a cute way to give it as a gift.
Yeah, I've never seen a simmer pot like that too, so I'm
Me neither.
curious. Yeah, I'll have to ask her where she got it. Okay,
hmm
well, it's good discussion. I hope you feel better. I know you don't feel terrible,
Thank
but I hope that you don't lose your voice.
Neil keeps saying, "Are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you?" And I'm like, "Can you just cut off my head just from like here up and then I'll be good."
Probably not a good idea. You're going to need that head later. All right, well, have a good rest of the week, and until next time.
Keep looking up.
All right, I love you. I'll see you
Love you
soon.
too. Alrighty, bye-bye.